Alright, my name is Rich, but my friends call me Filthy, and I am the face of Deboss Garage on YouTube. We got about a dozen builds on the channel, and we've featured about a dozen of our viewer builds on our channel as well. And I just want to join the club when I say it's not done yet. We got a little ways to go, but someone asked us if we could make a little video on our project that they helped us out with, which is a 1964 C-10. It's bagged, Duramax swapped, and is a tow truck. You might add some nitrous and a couple other cool things. A little bit of backstory on the truck and what motivated us to build this and go this route. And basically it's just a bunch of experiences over the course of about a year that put it all together. Originally the truck is one of our sponsors, Tuesday Auto Wreckers, and his grandfather started the wrecking yard that he now owns with this tow truck. It's not the cab because the truck was too rough originally to repair, but we wanted to kind of keep this heritage or this lawn art alive, and in doing so we took the whole tow rig off and a bunch of small pieces for the cab and started putting it together. Walking through different scrap yards, I saw the chassis, which is actually a 2015 GM 4500 chassis. It was a cabin chassis that Freightliner takes and puts their own air ride suspension on it and then mounts a city bus to. So it would have been about a 20-30 passenger bus, but the Duramax caught fire. Burnt the entire bus and took out the entire front end, but the back end was okay. So we grabbed the chassis, we came across a decent cab, and basically put it in the truck and started mashing everything together. The bus originally had a Duramax and we had an LB7 available to us. So the engine mounts, there was nothing to do, it just dropped right in, and then it was just a matter of fitting the cab to it. First thing we did was go over the chassis. We shortened the chassis because it was about 28-30 feet long, and Freightliner did a whole bunch of wonky stuff in the middle to make it easy to get in and out of. So we cut that all out and then made our own frame that would drop down and widen to accept the cab. And then someone helped us out massively by supplying all the parts to rebuild the front end. Because it was in a fire, every rubber, every bushing, every tie rod end, everything was toast. The only issue that we ran into, the parts that we weren't able to get, was the lower control arms, which are unique to Freightliner. We couldn't source those, but the bushings were gone, so we ended up pouring our own bushings. We hit up Alden American for their shocks. We gave them the minimum collapsed height of the shock and then the full extension. And that is actually the limiting factor to how high the air ride goes. We put upgraded brakes on the front as well. We want to be 100% confident that it doesn't matter how much power it makes, that we're able to go down the road straight, safely, and stop on a dime. And the only thing left really was the steering to make it safe. So we hit up Borgeson, gave them the numbers off the steering box, and they were able to source one locally and rebuild it for us. Can't rebuild a burnt steering box because they said why. There's some special stuff going on there. He said it's bad news rebuilding a burnt one. So we did that, and then we incorporated their collapsible steering shaft with it, and then that's connected to an I Did It steering column. The I Did It's awesome because it's got the tilt steering. I'm 6'4", and it is a regular cab, so we need as much room in there as possible. Because it is a 2015, we just went to the yard and grabbed the Hydro Boost from another GM. They're all basically the same, so that incorporates the power steering pump with the Hydro Boost, so that's your brakes. And then we're going to put a larger reservoir on there and then run the lines to the boom in the back so that the back lift cylinder is actually hydraulic as well. Detroit 20-inch steel wheels really finish off the look. Now, I'm generally a raised up truck kind of guy, and this is our first bagged lowered truck. If we would have went with a stock tire, it might have slipped under the radar, but when you see it going down the road with these really nice 20-inch rims, you know that there's something unique about the build. We went with the Cooper Xeon LTZ tires. Those were the only tires with 11-inch wide at the back to replace the duals that are able to hold the weight that we're hoping to carry with it. The tow rig that's in the box is fully functional, but we want to build a stinger on the back so that we can actually pick up a car. 4 bolts and the entire tow rig slides out of a turret, and then the stinger, I want to be able to remove it from the frame, but then still have a hitch there if we want to pull a trailer with one of our other projects. Ideally, we'd love to drive this down to SEMA for 2021 and tow one of our other builds at the same time. After we got the chassis all figured out, we started digging into the cab. The cab was a little rougher than we thought, so Summit supplied us with a pile of rockers and floor patches. We did end up getting into the firewall. We flattened the firewall, which we still have to do some work to, as you can see. And then we mixed it up with some used parts and some wheelbarrows and stuff. We wanted to make the inside super comfortable. So first we're gonna go with a sound deadening from Be Quiet. They have some firewall stuff and some stuff for the floor and the headliner. It's not really a Stax guy either, but Stax kind of fit this truck. You do have 2 exhaust pipes coming up the back right by your ear. So Lyle supplied all the tubing for the headers and for the exhaust front to back. So they built us some custom massive mufflers to try and quiet it down. We do want to be comfortable on those long road trips, and a drone in your ear gets annoying really fast. The interior, we went with TMI. We got a bench seat with the removable console and then the matching door panels, and a 2-tone tan. Really matches kind of the patina and the look that we're going for. Gauges, we're going with the Teletronics. Very simple unit, so you don't have to worry about tying into other harnesses or anything like that. It's just a matter of running another sensor to another oil port or temperature, and then the GPS does the speedometer. To get the rest of the wiring for the truck, because we're basically starting over again, we're just using a generic painless kit that is able to do all of our lights. It's built for a 60s era truck, so we've got our own fuse panel for that. That will do our lights, our ignition, and our key. It'll tie in really nice with the I Did It steering column, because that's still all kind of period correct, and it kind of flows very seamlessly together. Clearances were pretty tight between the engine and the firewall itself. So there was no room for the up and the down pipe for the single turbo in the valley. So we decided to go with twin turbos. The turbos are just cheapies off of Amazon. Right now, we're not touching the engine and transmission. It's more about building the truck and being able to drive it to kind of figure out a proof of concept. If it works, we'll dig into the engine, rebuild it. We'll upgrade the transmission at the same time, and then possibly go with some better turbos. Because we went with twin turbos, they're both the same size. We thought it'd be kind of unique if we went with a dual plenum intake. I know that Banks makes one already, but I'm the kind of guy that wants a one of a kind that nobody else has. So we actually took a Holley Sniper dual plenum and made it fit our Duramax. We went to a machine shop in town called D&E Precision, who did a one-off for us and made adapters that bolt to the Duramax head and then allow the Sniper intake to bolt to it. We love the look. There's actually 2 intercoolers on the front, so it actually goes to the front and goes back over to the other side. When you weld them upside down to each other, it looks pretty impressive and massive, and I think it just fits underneath the grill. We were really worried about the amount of heat that's created. To keep the thing cool, we went with a Flexolite radiator. That is the biggest one that they sell. All their fins are serrated, so it actually moves more air. So there's more contact surface for the coolant to cool down. A couple really good electric fans, and then a separate transmission cooler down underneath the cab for keeping the transmission cold. To make the engine run, we hit up Billet Performance Manufacturing. They were able to build us a harness and remove the vats from the ECU. Once we gave it some fuel and cranked it over, figured out that my crank and my cam sensor were backwards. After that, it fired right up. It sounded pretty good, actually. It's loping a little bit because the injector holes are open. The intake is meant for an LS, so there's 8 spots for injectors, and we're hoping to eventually put some nitrous in there, just because, hey, why not? We've got a Duramax swap bagged tow truck. Of course it needs nitrous.
ready.
Cement ready.